And welcome back to Tales from the Infrared. This week, March 7th, 2015. And with me are the usual suspects. We have Dean Esme, Managing Director for A Voice for Men and all-around geek. How you doing, Dean?
I'm doing great. How are you? Hi, everybody.
I'm all right. And Rachel Edwards.
Hey, dude. Hey, everybody.
The naughty nerd-ass herself. And running the back room today is the man, the myth, and the dungeon master, James Huff.
How's it going, folks?
So this week we have a whole lot on our plate. We have things from Gamergate, Doctor Who, and even PBS. Dean, would you like to take us through everything?
Yes, absolutely. Although it's not in the show notes, if you're a nerd, you would already know that last week saw the death of Leonard Nimoy, very much an icon in science fiction, having played the original Mr. Spock. Very special, especially to nerds above a certain age like myself. I'd personally like to dedicate this show to Leonard Nimoy's memory because Mr. Spock was especially important to me when I was a kid. In any case, live long and prosper, you will be well remembered. Now, to the actual official stories this week for Tales from the Infrared. Are games racist? Yes, you'll see this in the show notes. According to PBS's video game show, oddly enough named Game Show, video games can be just as racist as they can be sexist, with the main host being just as social justice warrior aligned as She Who Shall Not Be Named. The host goes on about how games can be racist, and he uses the exact same logic that our not-so-favorite pop culture critic uses, along with her full Macintosh companion. However, Chris Raygun uses real logic to prove how moronic this position is in the video that we have linked in the show notes. So please check out Chris Raygun. Way to go, by the way, social justice warriors. You just keep pushing away the same people you say you're fighting for. In other news, Tim Schafer exposes the illegitimacy of elitist social justice through the erasure of Not Your Shield. A surprise from the Daily Kos comes a blog entry from Being Human. While the blog entry is interesting, it meanders about and uses social justice warrior language to say that white social justice warriors are silencing women and minorities. Gee, maybe that's because they are. Glad somebody at Daily Kos finally noticed. The most interesting part of this article, besides it being on the Daily Kos, is that it has some good points, such as, quote, people have suffered tremendously to stand up to the progressive media establishment, and as progressives, we should demand that establishment be emblematic of the values we stand for and not a corrupt, self-serving elite who marginalizes the very people they are supposed to be fighting for, unquote. At some point, you become what you fight. Maybe it's time people start trying to figure out where that point is and learn to step back. In lighter news, Doctor Who Season 9's release date has been hinted at, and we have a few spoilers coming from the Inquisitor. Information about Doctor Who Season 9 is something a lot of people are looking forward to. People want to know when the new season will start and what is in store for the characters. My bet, by the way, is September, but that's just my guess. So far, the producers have been close-lipped about most of the information except for the return of an exciting character. Radio Times confirmed last month that Missy would return for the new season of Doctor Who. Despite seemingly being killed off at the end of the last season, although we all called it that she wasn't, Michelle Gomez confirmed that she was returning and would be in the first 2 episodes, which serve as a 2-part premiere. We can't wait to see the new season, as the last was a bit of a disappointment. And spoiler, the new season will come about towards the end of 2015. That's the only hint we got. There is also, by the way, a hot rumor out there that the Doctor's next companion will in fact be Missy. But let's just talk about that later when we're back into the regular discussion segment of the show. In another news, we have a stinging editorial from The Blaze saying, "Dear foolish and gullible Americans, net neutrality is not your friend." While we wish we could easily dismiss this guy, we think he has a point. The U.S. government just gave the Federal Communications Commission the power to regulate the Internet. How well has the government done with regulating anything? This is definitely a thought-provoking, although provocative article. And Matt Walsh keeps hammering home one specific point. He says the government hasn't got a good track record for regulating things. He says maybe it's time we stop relying on others to do for us and start doing for ourselves. I expect that to be a very lively discussion when we finally get there. Two more videos for more lighthearted fare. Batman versus Darth Vader. May want to go check that out. A bit of lighthearted fun from the Superpower Beatdown folks. Due to fan backlash, they actually made both sides win in different videos. So who should win, Batman or Vader? Obviously Vader. Sorry, everybody is wrong who disagrees with me. No, we'll talk about that one too. Blizzard reveals new, quote, Overwatch character, unquote, in response to female body complaints. Which female body parts were complaining? Was it the toes? Was it the... I'm sorry. Anyway, we're kind of torn on this. On one hand, it seems that Blizzard has fallen to the SJW pressure of better representation of women. On the other, this is actually a decent representation of a good character from the little teaser. Only time will tell if this character has any lasting appeal for fans, but we're certainly at least curious. Next story, the Netflixization of video games is almost here. This from Bloomberg. Somewhere, someone is crying about lag, but according to NVIDIA, it won't be the players of games on the new NVIDIA Shield console. NVIDIA is trying its hands at the console wars with streaming content for video games. Partnering with Amazon and making games completely streamed, this new console starts at $199. However, there was another attempt at streaming video games around 6 years ago with a company called OnLive. Will NVIDIA fall short, lag out, or rise to the competition? All this and more on this episode of Tales from the Infrared. Back to you, Mr. Kelvarn.
Thank you, Dean. And we have another person joining us, our favorite resident alien and prober of everybody, Nephenor of Frawl.
What the fuck you talking about, person?
Were you busy probing Christian? Is that why he's not here? Did you probe him to death?
No, I was sleeping. After exploring Rachel's ass, it took a long time to get to sleep.
Oh, poor Rachel.
Thanks to
surrounded
you,
by
I'm
a
going to
bunch
have problems walking. Thanks, man.
Okay. All right. So where are we going to start on our discussions?
I think
I want to add a bonus topic too. I finally saw the last installment of The Hobbit last night. So anybody wants to talk about that?
Tell us about it, Dean.
Want to start
No,
with
I
that?
haven't even seen that.
I'm actually stunned that I seem to be the only one who's seen it, because I know the movie did pretty well at the box, and I don't know, to me, if you're a geek, you're just almost kind of required to go see these movies. It's like, I don't know, it's like mandatory. It's like the new Star Wars comes out. Well, you have to go see it. Why? Well, because you just do. So I was feeling a little bad about not seeing it. That said, I guess I can see why excitement over it has been limited. There were things I definitely liked about the trilogy. Well, it's a little odd calling it a trilogy, but there were definitely things I liked about it. The acting was very good. The writing was, I don't know, a lot of it was faithful to the original, but some of the liberties taken really bugged me. So, I mean, am I the only one who's seen it here? I mean, Has anybody besides me seen it? All right, I'll take that as a no.
I only read the book.
Well, I read the book twice, but I freely admit it has been. It's hard for me to say this, but it's probably been roughly 30 to 35 years since I read it. So it's not like my memory is that good, but I do, at several points in watching the entire trilogy, but especially the second and third ones, there were parts where I said, oh yeah, this is exactly what I remember. And then there are other parts where I was like, I don't remember anything like this being in the original.
Yeah, and that's a real big problem, and that's one of the reasons why I actually was not motivated to see the second or third films, and it was also I found myself wondering about the film that could have been, because I remember early on in the development process they were talking about Guillermo del Toro being the director and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to be fucking epic. And then you realize, like, he walked away from the project. And there was probably reasons why, and it's probably because he got stifled in his creative freedom, and that's a real problem, though. That is something that is a real problem with what's going on with the Peter Jackson version of the films. I often feel that what they do is they take away from the original feel of the story and make it a little more appealing to a widespread demographic. And they up the action and downplay the cool things about, singing songs and stuff like that.
I can definitely say a few things. The look of the film is beautiful. I don't think anybody disputes that. Even its harshest critics agree that it's visually very beautiful. And the portrayal of hobbits is excellent. So it's got that going for it. And the portrayal of dwarves is pretty excellent. And Smaug was awesome, by the way. Smaug was just plain awesome.
No, he was not. I will argue with you on that one, and I will break in. Smaug is a dragon. Dragons have 4 legs, 2 wings. That was a fucking fire-breathing wyvern.
Oh, gotta love Nephenor on that one.
Oh, no, it's true. If you look at old pictures that were done, commissioned by J.R.R. Tolkien, it was true. Smaug had 4 legs and wings. He was not a 2-legged gimp. They turned him into a fucking paraplegic.
Shit.
Okay, so I haven't seen the movie yet, but what it sounds like is they turned him into something more resembling the Chinese version of a dragon.
Well, no, because Chinese version of a dragon still has 4 legs. It's just they're very short and very long. He was still shaped like a Western dragon, but he did not have his front legs. He used his wings to move around by the front part, which was wrong. That's how wyverns move, not how dragons move.
Yeah, this is something that Peter Jackson has a tendency to mess up on. Just little details like that. So he can spend all this time developing all these little details for what the elves are wearing, but then it's stuff like that he's fucked up on.
And technically, Nephenor is correct. Western-style dragons have 6 appendages, like an insect, not 4.
But yeah.
So basically, the front arms were attached to his wings, which sounds more like a bat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just kind of screws with my wanting to see this, because I read the book when I was a kid, and I loved the book. But, everything I hear about how they've changed it, adding a character that wasn't even in the book itself, it just... Seriously, I'm not even sure I want to see it.
Yeah, this is the thing that really frustrates me about Peter Jackson. It's something that, I'm going to say something. I'd rather watch Meet the Feebles than some of the stuff that happens when he gets a huge budget. It's something that's I have mixed feelings about, because on the one hand, as a nerd and somebody who likes the larger Tolkien universe, you get excited that they're making movies, but then it doesn't always capture the full feel of the book, the sort of warm feelings, the how do I begin to explain? I think this is probably a good thing to convey what I'm trying to say. I think I've seen things where they were talking about the intricate detail of all the shit that they did to make the orc armor believable, where they had like weird backstories about the family armor for like each orc or something like that, and yet you can't add in Tom Bombadil because that is unneeded. Somehow, I don't know.
One of the other things I do want to point out, and to some degree this applied to the most recent series for Tolkien, but a lot of these translations are moving toward a PC bent. If an author writes a book and it's a well-loved book, but for some reason just wasn't diverse enough for those fucking social justice warriors, we are seeing producers and directors purposely alter the spirit of the book in order to fulfill those wishes.
So, guys, I'm sorry I dropped. I had an internet connection lapse. I apologize. It sounded like it was just getting good. What I miss? What I miss? What were you just saying about altering it for PC sensibilities? Certainly,
He was talking about like adding in extra shit because it wasn't diverse enough, and I know exactly what he's talking about, like the situation with Legolas's girlfriend, and back in Lord of the Rings they gave God, what the fuck's her name?
Eowyn?
What?
Oh no, not Eowyn. So you
Arwen. Arwen. Yeah,
Arwen.
They gave Arwen a bigger role, and that kind of took away from Eowyn in the last part of the film. To be perfect, I mean the final chapter, because when she suddenly was out there fucking killing a goddamn Nazgul, it didn't matter because you had Arwen doing shit earlier on like the first film. It doesn't leave as much of an impact.
I think my biggest objection was just the entire fabrication of a romantic relationship between a dwarf and an elf. I think Tolkien would have been rolling over in his grave on that one. I really do. Completely inappropriate. Clearly an effort to basically appease, I don't know, I don't want to say even appease, but to pander to female sensibilities or whatever by putting
characters.
Token characters in a Tolkien, yes.
Yes, tokens.
Tolkien tokens. It bothered me. It didn't need to be there. Also, I have to say, while Legolas is cool, what they did with his fight scenes, it may have seemed a little extreme on the first movie, but by the time you get to the third movie, I'm like, what is he? An elf or is he fucking Spider-Man? This is stupid. The action scenes went from, wow, elves are unreal fast to, wow, elves are superheroes, or at least Legolas is. And it was a little too much. All that aside, I actually still enjoyed the movies. I was just surprised. It felt like like Peter Jackson took far more liberties with The Hobbit than he did with The Lord of the Rings itself. Maybe that's because he had less to work with, because it's, The Hobbit's a simpler story. So he just had to fill in more, like he had to take more out of the Lord of the Rings movies to make them work. Whereas with The Hobbit, he gave himself room to put stuff in that didn't need to be there. I don't know what it is, but if I were to give, the Lord of the Rings movies a 4.5 stars for being very well done and reasonably faithful to the books, I'd have to say the Hobbit series, I'd give them 3 out of 5, because they're still fun and they're still good, and parts of it are very faithful, but parts of it are like, why are you doing this? And I did notice one thing, I guess I'll close my own commentary on, because I went back last night and watched the first of the Hobbit movies, and one thing that's also very noticeable is that the childlike quality of, because The Hobbit was written for children. right? Adults can enjoy it too, but it was written for children. And you can feel that in the first Hobbit movie, and by the time you get to the third Hobbit movie, it doesn't feel like a children's story at all anymore. And it's like almost like it feels like a true prequel to the Lord of the Rings. In fact, they added stuff in hinting about the story of the Lord of the Rings, but it's like it was disjointed that way. You know, if they were going to do the Hobbit right, they should have stayed in the mode of this is a kid's story, and they kind of took that out by the end of the third movie, and that bugged me a little too. But I still enjoyed it, so there you go. That's my final review.
Fair enough. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I won't. I'm not sure. It just too much of it tells me it's not worth it. But you never know. How about we move on to PBS and how games are racist.
Okay, I saw that video, and I'm just like I have actually officially decided the social justice cause is the religion of our era. It just is. It's the religion of our era. We are almost certainly, in the United States anyway, we are probably living in the least racist time of our country's history. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. I'm not saying racism is never a problem, but on the whole, this is probably the least racist portion of this country's history ever. And these people are still looking. It's almost like looking for communist subversives was in the 1950s. They're just looking for anything that even hints at, like sideways glance, sort of if you smudge the photo right, maybe that could be called racism. And they're just looking for it everywhere. I mean, I was just agog. Really? I've been watching video games since the 90s. No, I'm sorry. I've actually been watching the video games since the 70s, but at least since the 90s, if not the 80s, video game makers were going out of their way to be quote-unquote inclusive, but in a real way, not in a fake way. Just like, oh, maybe it would be cool to have a black character in here. Oh, yeah, Samus was a girl. Remember that? And remember that was like, A, exciting, and B, you didn't really care anyway? And now these people are saying, my brain is just full of fuck. Somebody else say something else.
No, Jadine, I have to agree with you because this is what video games have always been about. We want to get everybody in there. We want everybody to enjoy this. But what I've seen over the years, and I've been a gamer my whole life, is that we want to do it right. We want to do it in a way that doesn't pander. It actually shows the best of these characters. But when you try and shoehorn something in, you take away that ability. You sit there and you take away from any richness of a character. And you have studies that say, people just want to play the games. They don't really care what the character looks like, but yet we still need to get these characters in. I mean, where's the character that's stuck in a wheelchair? Where's the character that has no legs or no arms? Where's the character who can't run?
That would be in Katawa Shoujo. Oh, okay, but seriously though, this is really just the new kind of bigotry that these people are pushing. It's gone from people being, discriminating against people for being women or being a minority, and people not simply being accepting enough to please the social justice crowd. If you don't appear to be inclusive enough, you are the scum of the earth, and you need to be dealt with. We need to take you into the town square, and we need to publicly shame you. It's that kind of thing. Maybe
what is not being inclusive enough? I mean, seriously, what do we need to put all these others ahead of anybody else? That's discluding somebody, regardless of how they want to put it.
They're discluding the standard model, the standard person, a white male. That is being excluded. Of course, that's okay for them.
And the irony is hard to escape, and I almost feel like, okay, this shouldn't matter, but somehow it weird does. How obvious is it that the overwhelming majority of those pushing this narrative are male and white? I know the guy in the PBS video is Asian, but obviously from an upper middle class background at least. How ironic is that? I don't even know if it's self-flagellating guys or what, but it's like this gross urge to debase
Yeah.
each other.
I've really noticed that. And it's so fucking annoying though, because I'll be sitting there, I'll be having a conversation with these people in some kind of a comment section, and then who are the people who then start telling me what I need to know as a woman or a minority? What I need to know, it's like some white dude comes in and tells me about how oppressed I am. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's a weird form of pandering, an insulting form of pandering. It almost like it makes me think of like, oh, you're Jewish. I totally respect your desire to be obsessed with money at all times, because you know what I mean. I mean, it's like that kind of weird insulting pandering. Do you know what I mean? I don't.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're
Oh,
black.
definitely.
I totally. You're black. I totally understand how you're oppressed because you're not allowed to steal and
There's a perfect
rape.
picture. There's a perfect meme like that describes this perfectly. And there's like this picture of I think people at a school, and it's like these two white kids giving I think like an award or something or some flowers to like,
Oh God,
we're
I
giving it to
saw
them
that.
for being black students. Like,
Right, I saw
yeah,
that,
you're
and the look on those black kids'
wonderful. They're like,
faces.
oh, these dumbasses. Look at their faces like, oh, these dumbasses. What are they doing?
Congratulations, you're black. Oh, why? Thank you. I think. Congratulations, you have a vagina. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you. I get bonus points for that. It's the religion of our era. I'm serious. I remember when it seemed like Christian morality was just all everywhere you looked, in television, in movies, in music. Fundamentalist Christian morality, especially, but just it was this kind of milieu of, oh, we all share these values. Well, we don't all share these values, but we're supposed to because we're all supposed to
You
think
mean
this
like
way.
Charlie Brown?
No, I'm talking about actually just more like regular cartoons you would see on television and stuff like that. Remember, kids, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. But instead of being meaningful life lessons, they're all morality tales. But the morality tales have switched from sort of Christian-y to social justice-y. I don't know how to explain it. I'm probably being very incoherent now, but I'm just saying it's the new religious sensibility of our era. It seems like it really is. And they'll say, no, it's not a religion. It can fit any religion. It's like, no, really. Your explanation for everything is tautological. Everything is racism. Everything is sexism. Everything is homophobia. Everything is, or just every part of your life has to be devoted to fighting it. I don't know. I don't know. Somebody else have an opinion? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And the biggest problem I've ever had with this is it seems like, just like you said, that every part of your life needs to be set to fight this thing. But at some point, you've got to sit there and say, we're going overboard.
Like who's out there actually saying racism is a good thing? Who's out there actually saying girls shouldn't be allowed to play sports? Who's actually out there saying that?
You really want me to say it? The social
are.
justice warriors, yeah.
Yeah, they are. They are.
I mean, if you really look at it, it seems more like the social justice warriors are fighting to get the racism back, to get the sexism back, so that they have something to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really what
look
all
at
this shit
something
is
that
about.
Well, there's something that I remember. It was in an interview with Morgan Freeman. He was talking about how silly Black History Month is, and then he said, well, as the interviewer asked him, well, how would you end racism? And he said, stop talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. And while I don't agree 100% with what he said there, I agree with about more than 90% of it, not more than 95% of it. I mean, history matters, right? And I don't believe in just forgetting history. So never talking about it would be dumb, but I think he's basically right about that for the most part. I mean, you shouldn't forget your history. You shouldn't forget where you came from, you know.
Just stop obsessing over it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that is the problem, is we are obsessing over the sexism, the racism of the past, and it literally gets to the point where if you look at it with a critical eye, it starts to look like these people want to bring that stuff back.
Yeah, and this is the real problem. The thing that seems to be, to me, the most valuable thing, the most important part of, making the situation be the, sorry, I'm messing up. Basically, the thing that you need to do to stop racism and sexism is just to let those people become valuable members of the community. That's all you really need to do, because the moment they get valued for something other than race or gender, it just starts to happen,
Very profound thought. Thank you, Rachel.
I'm sorry, I messed up on that a little bit.
No, really.
Who are you, Rachel, and what have you done with the real Rachel?
What? I'm just saying.
Our real Rachel is not this profound.
And that goes right into the Daily Kos story. Actually, this does go straight to it, doesn't it? Tim Schafer exposing the illegitimacy of elitist social justice. Okay, look, there is nothing wrong with being a white man. I'm one of these too. I feel like I'm in this weird loop where I can't. I'm even being a hypocrite, because I really think that we should embrace our differences but not obsess over it. But here again, we have another privileged white man shitting all over anybody who doesn't think like him, if they're a minority or a female. I mean, it's just it's like an infinite loop of stupid. Did anybody else see Tim Schafer's attack on Not Your Shield?
Oh yeah.
And the whole sock
I got a question
thing?
for you, Dean.
Yeah.
How many Kickstarters does it take Tim Schafer to finish a game?
Oh, more than one apparently.
50. One for the finances, one for the game design, and 40 for the ability to do math.
Oh, Jesus Christ! What was he thinking? Maybe he thought this would be funny, but who's it going to be funny? For fuck's sake. Just for fuck's sake.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to be funny, too. It's going to be funny to the mostly social justice crowd that they've got there, who are mostly white and not very diverse, if you really think about it. Most of these talks that people are going to, it's not a diverse group like you actually see in gaming. A lot of them are just straight white men.
Well, they actually had a picture of the audience, and it was mostly white men. And also, you know why he did that joke? Because he couldn't finish his real speech.
Oh?
I'm making Tim Schafer can't finish jokes.
Okay, far too intelligent for us and to understand their jokes. But no, I honestly think that this is embarrassing pandering on their part. This is like the apex fallacy, the apexual thing in overdrive. It's a bunch of dudes who are basically part of an economic and social elite, self-flagellating to make themselves look better and feel better about themselves at the expense of everybody else, including the people they're supposedly speaking up for. Like, you just can't let these women talk for themselves. You just can't let these minority persons talk for themselves. And you must also shame everybody who looks like you so that you can prove that you're better than everybody who looks like you. That's the psychology I see going on here. I hate just armchair quarterbacking. Like, okay, you're a white male and you feel you get brownie points for dogging other white males. And in the process of dogging other white males, you pretty much just stomp on anybody who's not a white male too while pretending to talk to them. How does that brain process function? Do these people have the least bit of self-awareness?
I really don't know because here they are saying that straight white men can't speak for minorities and women, and yet there they are, being straight white men speaking for women.
Right, right. Are you not aware of what you're doing?
You're basically saying that you can't actually speak for those people as a straight white man, and the fuck are you doing?
And then these men, these guys create a milieu where the only females who can succeed are the ones who think like them. So it's a weird codependency relationship of, creating mental cripples and then holding up the mental cripples as the people you're heroically standing up for. I'm glad even the Daily Kos had the guts to publish a criticism of this, because it's the fucking truth, okay? I mean, seriously. I mean, there are Gamergate guys, like one of the guys who started the Gamergate or the Not Your Shield hashtag is a black dude who got fired because of his Gamergate involvement. He ain't happy. But of course, he gets doxxed, he gets fired, that doesn't make the news. She who will not be named, one of the several, who it still hasn't even been proved that they've gotten any real threats, they get national news. Multiple people, male, female, of multiple racial backgrounds and ethnicities lose their jobs. Nobody says anything, just because they're not on board with the press's narrative. I think the whole thing, I know I'm talking too much, but the whole thing just gets to, my God, the elite media really is a bunch of elitist snots, aren't they? They just are.
Yeah.
The thing that I absolutely despise about this whole situation is they keep saying diversity, 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 and yes, they are silencing black, they are silencing women, they are silencing everybody else. But not only that, there's no diversity of opinion. It is all the same opinion. They refuse to have anything other than far left, insane politics. They refuse to have any voice other than that. And it's like, this is not diversity. This is just demagoguery. This is just a flat, well, it's, as you put it, it's basically the new religion.
Yeah, they're the new church. They're the priests and the bishops of the new church, the new secular church of social justice. And you accept what they say because they say it, and that's just how it is.
And now, as we've said before, misogyny and racist is the new word for blasphemer.
Yeah,
yes.
And it gets worse.
It gets worse?
It gets worse because we've actually heard rumors that there's going to be an anti-Gamergate documentary going around. So I'm pretty sure that we can look forward to it being just like another SVU episode or this Tim Schafer incident. It's probably going to be that fucked up. It's probably going to be that stupid.
And that's relatively disappointing. I didn't know that this documentary was in the making. That goes to another story that has me really down and depressed, which I don't even know if we can say much about it. It's not in the show notes, but everybody catch the drama over the Sarkeesian effect.
Yep.
I'm really depressed over that, and all I'm going to say.
Wait, somebody explain that to me, because I missed that one.
Okay, I can explain this a little bit. And the situation was apparently they had a disagreement over Roosh and sort of the PUA community, and over that situation they had a bit of a falling out, and then Arini, or at least from Jordan's end, they said that, or at least he said that he wanted half of the money that they had raised for the budget of the film, and he said he would just leave, or if he received no money, he would go public. And
Okay.
Go
Yeah.
public with what?
with what was going on, I think that's the situation, because I think Jordan really wants to just finish the film. I haven't spoken to him since the whole conflict, and to be perfectly honest, the truth of the matter is that these guys are very, very different people, and it's something that you notice upon meeting them. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just that sometimes people have a difference of opinion. Sometimes they just, they're gonna butt heads, and that's kind of what happens on these sorts of projects. I just want them to finish the film. I think they should just do that. They owe that to the people who've been financially backing them.
Yeah, what the Sarkeesian Effect, which was not going to be a Gamergate movie per se, but dovetailed very much with Gamergate because it was an expose on not just Anita Sarkeesian, but the entire social justice crowd mindset that made Sarkeesian possible, and that eventually, led up to Gamergate and stuff like that. And Jordan Owen and Davis Arini recently had an extremely public and extremely uncomfortable fight, and refusing to work with each other, and each claiming to own the film and own the rights to it, and it's very ugly, and it's kind of depressing, really. For the record, if anybody cares, Voice for Men did publish an interview with Roosh recently. A lot of people seem to. Roosh is a somewhat controversial pickup artist guy. We published an interview of him. Some people seem to take that as endorsement of Roosh's worldview. It's like, no, it's called an interview, and that's all. It's neither pro-Roosh or anti-Roosh. It was just an interview. And then Roosh had recently written something which he made very clear was satire of how we should just go ahead and legalize rape on private property, which was a sarcastic response to yes means yes and other stupid laws. This seems to have upset Jordan. At least Roosh's satirical article did. It seems to have eventually in some way led to the fight between Davis, who has also written on AVFM, but AVFM takes no position on any of this, in case anybody cares, except we'd really like to see the two of them resolve this amicably and to see this film shot, because if they keep the way they're going, they're not going to finish their film. And that was going to be a very important film that showed the other side of how a whole lot of people see this. And it was nice, too, because Davis is kind of right-wing, and Jordan is kind of left-wing, and it was going to be something kind of nice, like they both see the same problems here.
Yeah, that's one of the things I liked about this situation.
Personally, I want to say this. I mean, this is something that should be done, and I will plead with Davis and Jordan and say, guys, set aside your differences just till you finish things. Then either decide to work it out or go your separate ways, but finish this for maybe, if for no other reason than for yourselves, but also for the community that has been following this. And
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be perfectly honest. The truth of the matter is that it's possible to actually finish this film without Davis if you absolutely needed to. I mean, this is my own personal opinion, but I mean, looking at this from a production standpoint, Jordan is in a perfect position though to make use of a lot the film schools that are around there and the film people that are in Atlanta, Georgia. That is something that is there. But I mean, I don't know if he'd actually be able to get a hold of those people. I mean, I don't know. Just fucking finish the film. That's just what I feel about this situation. Just finish it.
Yeah, and that film could be an important counterpoint to whatever anti-Gamergate documentary is about to go around and be made. Although I'm less worried about the anti-Gamergate film than I might otherwise be, just because of another documentary that recently came out, which doesn't, well, it relates to what we all do since we're all critical of feminism here, but a movie called The Hunting Ground released, and a documentary called The Hunting Ground, and even Salon savaged it. I mean, pretty brutally, which is Salon. It was part of the Salon's Double X, which is a feminist kind of section of Salon, and they savaged this movie called The Hunting Ground, calling bullshit on a whole lot of what was in it. And The Hunting Ground, in case anybody doesn't know, accepts the premise that there is a rape culture on college campuses and that 1 in 5 women, college women, is going to be raped, which is total bullshit, total bunk. They run this documentary acting like it's true, and even Double X had to call bullshit on it. And maybe this pro-Gamergate documentary will also get bullshit called on it. Because I don't know about you guys, I'm sensing a shift in the winds. I mean, it's just a shift, but I'm seeing more and more questioning of the social justice warrior narrative in the mainstream press itself. Maybe that's just my perception, but I'm seeing it.
No, it's there, and yeah, honestly, I think the thing is the anti-social or the anti-Gamergate documentary is going to end up falling apart, and it's going to do it probably in a similar way to the Sarkeesian Effect one, because there'll probably be 2 people working on it, or at least, and they won't agree on something, and then they'll just blow it up as usual, because social justice warriors can't even agree among themselves, let alone anything else. So they're going to just self-destroy themselves. I don't see it ever finishing.
All right. On that note, I say we go into some breaking news.
That's our new thing.
Okay, we had Rachel all set to do that, and we're going to have to kill her, but again, we'll just have to kill Nephinor for making that noise again.
Rachel, it's your turn. No. It's
Okay,
your
what
turn
was
to kill Nephinor.
Okay.
Okay, the breaking news is Google apologizes after accidentally tweeting that it supports Gamergate.
Actually, it never supported Gamergate. The entire thing was neutral. It basically said, we support inclusivity, and then they had the hashtag Gamergate. Anti-Gamergate took it as, oh my god, they're supporting Gamergate? Fuck you!
Then they put the pressure on Google to recant, which...
Well, here's the tweet. The future of gaming is in all of our hands. With the hashtag Gamergate. And you know what? I will agree with that statement. It really is in all of our hands. But at what point do we decide which way do we want to go?
Yeah. It was actually a rather cryptic sort of message, but then they finally clarified and said, oh, we're in support of inclusivity, as if we're not in support of inclusivity.
As if Gamergate isn't inclusive.
Exactly.
I mean, let's look at Not Your Shield. We've got Queenie Martha saying she considered the tweet a very nice message.
Well, the funny thing is, we've got Google here saying this right on the heels of them saying that they're going to be changing their search algorithm to be more fact-based, which is going to kill one of Gamergate's biggest opponents, Gawker.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
I want to sit there and qualify that. What they consider more fact-based doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be more fact-based. It just might mean if something has more links to other things, which, of course, gaming media is incestuous and links to each other all the time.
Yeah, but the thing is, they actually called out Gawker in their announcement about it.
Yeah,
they actually
exactly.
said Gawker is a target on theirs, and they used them as an example of how they would be going down in the search ratings. So that was an attack on Gawker itself and that kind of clickbait media. And in the case, that's exactly one of the things that Gamergate's fighting against, is clickbait media. So that kind of thing will start getting ranking lower, and that is a bonus in Gamergate's favor. It's a huge bonus in Gamergate's favor.
However, there's probably going to be some massive outcry over this. You're going to be like, "Oh, this is, you're trying to hurt our company or something, or being biased against us, or this is defamation or something like that." That's probably what's going to happen.
Oh, please, Gawker, try and sue Google. I would love to see that.
All right, will somebody help me out here and say what was the tweet? What precisely was the tweet that Google actually stated?
I
you
read
read it again?
It's
Could you read it again? I
Okay.
missed it.
The future of gaming is in all of our hands.
That's the Pro Gamergate message,
Yep.
and they got attacked for that.
Yep.
Okay, and then what I do seem to recall is they didn't even backpedal. They said we're not pro Gamergate, we're pro inclusivity, which is also a very neutral statement, is it not?
Yep.
Actually, their backpedaling said they were against Gamergate.
They did say they were against Gamergate, or
Yeah,
did they
I'll
say
have
they're
to pull
not
up
in
the
support? Yeah, find it because I'm curious. Did they say they were not in support, or did they say they were against? Because there's a very big difference there. Because Google is allowed to be neutral, you know. So I'd be very curious.
Well, the article itself is extremely anti-Gamergate.
Oh,
Here's
got it here.
one thing.
Our last
It
tweet
says-
was a mistake. Google supports an open, diverse gaming community for all. We do not support Gamergate.
Okay.
Okay, but like I said, the article is very anti-Gamergate. Here's how you know. Gamergate was founded and orchestrated largely by the white male denizens of communities like 4chan, 8chan, and Reddit's R Kotaku in Action, which didn't come about until after Gamergate started. Gamergate has been characterized since its inception by death and rape threats. Bullshit. That's the social justice warriors lying. The doxing. They don't do that to our side too, and even swatting. I want to know who got swatted on their side.
I think there was one person, and that didn't even swat them directly. It swatted their old house. So there's
Right, that would be
questions about
Brianna
whether or
Wu.
not.
And that was Baphomet. That wasn't necessarily Gamergate. Baphomet
Right.
is more of a.
And we're not even sure if it was actually them getting themselves swatted.
Yeah, and that's the thing about them making the claim that this is a primarily white male group of community on 8chan. They're all fucking anonymous. You can post any kind of message there anonymously. And so how can they possibly say that it's got to be Gamergate or something like that when anybody can go there and nobody knows who it is? There's no account to trace it back anywhere. Just saying.
Exactly. I mean, that's where if you look into it for even a short amount of time, you can find the bullshit in these articles. This is how you know they're lying to you. Gamergate hasn't been doing this stuff. In fact, if I remember correctly, they have a group that is completely dedicated to finding Gamergaters who advocate violence, doxing.
Gamergate Harassment Patrol.
Yes, the Gamergate Harassment Patrol goes out of its way to find people who try and do this to call them out.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that it's not actually it's not much of a stretch to really think about the fact that these people knew about Baphomet. They knew about Baphomet. They were complaining about Baphomet, and they were there in the comments on the fucking board as well. While these doxes were being dropped and stuff like that. So it's just kind of ridiculous to think that it's even a stretch to say that some of these people might have swatted themselves.
I could probably argue that they have been. I mean, it's not enough of a stretch to say Brianna, and if I remember correctly, it was Brianna Wu that got swatted supposedly, even though it was her old place.
Actually, no, it wasn't. It was that other woman. I think it was in it was like Oregon. No, it was another trans woman. I'm trying to remember her name. I can't, but I do know it wasn't Brianna Wu.
Okay, fair enough, but still, if someone's gonna swat someone, honestly, from what I've seen in the past few swattings, they're not gonna go with the old house. They're gonna go with the most current and recent place of residence.
Yeah, and that's incredibly sloppy for them. They're actually pretty good at finding out if this is your current residence. So why? Why would they fuck up this much when previously they had done so well at doxing other people and sending shit to their houses? Just saying.
Well, that's what calls into question the honesty of the reporting. Is that, yeah, I've seen the track record. These people have done it very well in the past. Why did they screw up now?
And this is old B kind of doxing, rating kind of thing, and these guys are pretty good at this. This is what they do for shits and giggles. I mean, if you're gonna fuck with somebody, you need to do it right. And these guys are pretty good at that. So I don't know. That just kind of calls everything into question for me. But yeah, it's only speculation.
Well, yeah, but the speculation leads you to the question of, was it really them? Because it doesn't track.
And that's the thing about this movement, about this consumer revolt, because these kinds of things attract a whole bunch of different kinds of people. I mean, you have the people who are genuinely interested in what these guys are trying to do and trying to promote diversity and actually trying to, fight for freedom of speech and things like that. But then there's also the people who try to ride on the coattails of it, or who try to troll everybody. And that's what we're really experiencing here.
Yes. And I think that leads us into our next and probably our second most controversial topic. And I want to point this out before we go any further. The opinions expressed by each person is their own opinion. Like I should have had to say that, but still.
No, in fact, it is important, especially because it helps illustrate the concept of intellectual diversity as opposed to faux diversity, where we all just make sure we have the right percentage of people of the right pigmentation and genitalia and who they're attracted to, versus diversity of opinion. Because I suspect that I know for a fact that we have a very different opinions here about net neutrality. I'll just start off by saying I enjoyed the Dear Foolish and Gullible Americans, Net Neutrality is Not Your Friend. I enjoyed reading it. I thought he made some very good points, and I think he's dead wrong. But who else has an opinion?
Well, my personal opinion is he does have some good points, and I'm with him on the fact that the government does not have a good track record of keeping control of things. I'm not just going to go with regulating utilities and whatnot. I'm going to also go with war on drugs, war on poverty, all that other stuff. It doesn't have a good track record for any of this because it's almost like every time the government gets involved, the exact opposite of the intention is what ends up happening. I mean, I may have missed a few things. Maybe they've gotten some things right.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I got involved in all this, and the reason why I was initially concerned about the end of net neutrality, was mainly because of what it would do to people who actually were underprivileged, who didn't have the ability to buy that faster internet. So there would be certain things that would then be slower for those people. I mean, I actually remember being on a very slow connection. I think all of us here are old enough to remember what it was like with dial-up speed. And the thing about it is it just felt to me like what would happen is there would be certain situations where you would be hindering young people. You'd be hindering young people from, non-affluent circumstances and hindering their ability to have access to information. And if there were corporations that felt that certain information or certain websites were undesirable, they could, of course, then fuck with their speed as well. The ability for that page to load because we don't like you.
I have a complicated view of this. It all depends on, are you coming down on this on principle or are you coming down this on pragmatism? Now, I have a bias in my view of this because I used to work for the world's largest internet provider, which is Comcast. And to be blunt about it, I consider that a vile, evil company. And I'm not even mincing words. They're genuinely evil. I can tell you stories about stuff I saw and experienced in there. It's a vile company. It's routinely rated one of the very worst companies in the world, both by employees and by consumers. It's a horrid company that cares about nothing but profits. And I'm sorry, my friends who are super libertarians, the pursuit of profit above all is not the ultimate of all goods. Okay? They're a horrible company that treats their customers horribly and treats their employees horribly, and they control much of the internet. And so I do have something to say there. One of the things in that article about net neutrality is, see, the market fixed itself. You know, there was a conflict between Netflix and Comcast, and they resolved it between them. Fucking bullshit, you lying scumbag. You didn't read a thing that Netflix said. Netflix objected. They said this was wrong. They said this was unfair. Netflix backed net neutrality because they were blackmailed by Comcast and gave in because they had to. It wasn't resolved. They were strong-armed into it because Comcast was threatening to throttle them and destroy their customer base because they could, because Comcast is a corporatist, a publicly traded corporation, which means it's not part of the free market. It's a creation of the government in the first place. And they were blackmailing Netflix. And they won that little blackmail using their monopoly power, and had their sights set on every other high bandwidth service on the internet so they could charge more and reduce competition in the marketplace, which is what big corporations always want, by the way. Big corporations always want to reduce competition, and they were using their monopoly power to do it because services like Netflix and Hulu are eating into the market for their traditional cable channels. They wanted to stop that, and they wanted to make more money ultimately on the backs of consumers. So that one thing he said there was bullshit. That was not the market resolving the problem. Okay, that was a monopolistic power strong-arming and dictating a weaker power. And bullshit. As far as I'm concerned, Comcast doesn't even have an inherent right to be on the internet, let alone charge whatever the fuck it wants and do whatever the fuck it wants. It is frequently the sole option for decent internet. It has gotten there with the help of the government every step along the way, and the notion that government can never get anything right is also total bullshit. If you want examples, do you like your highway? Do you like your interstate highway system? Do you like your roads? Do you like the fact that most of the population is able to read and educated? Do you like public libraries? Government can't get those right either. What the fuck are you talking about? The internet itself was invented by the government. Thank you very much. It was absolutely invented by the government. So I'm tired of ideologues telling me the state can never do anything right. If you like your internet, thank the government for it existing in the first place.
Fair enough.
Now, is net neutrality trading one thing for another? Well, it's trading control of parts of the internet from corporate bodies who are answerable to nobody but their shareholders to the FCC, which is at least in some ways answerable to everybody. That doesn't mean the FCC is going to be doing everything right, but in my opinion, it is better to have FCC oversight than just let corporations like Comcast do whatever the fuck they want. There's my rant. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong, because I might be.
No, I actually kind of agree with you, Dean. The thing with it is yes, in the past it did get things right with the roads, libraries, schools, that and whatnot. However, in the recent history, the last couple of decades, how many things has government gotten right?
Well, it broke up the Bell system, and now we have better phone system than we ever had. So, well,
versus how much that it got wrong.
The problem is that the government right now has a tendency of being bloated and self-serving, and also in its own way beholden to the corporations. So the question is, what kind of oversight do we have to ensure that the FCC isn't going to become just another corporate lapdog? We don't know that.
Yeah, no, that is the problem. I
Yeah,
will grant that is a real problem.
right now they are the lesser of two evils. And knowing what I know about these cable companies and what they've done in the past, and what they even did, if I recall, to put the hurt on Netflix and trying to push them into doing all of this, I don't think that they would have been above slowing down internet access for things that they may not have been favoring politically or in their own opinion, things that didn't quite match up with with the message they wanted to tell or have expressed.
And Rachel's right. They are the lesser of two evils, which is why I think we need to let Cthulhu be in charge of it.
Yeah, because why choose the lesser evil?
So people choose the greater evil.
Well,
and if
there
you
are
online, we'll do
definitely
that first.
there are definitely going to be what you call the law of unintended consequences happening here. There will be a negative side to the FCC's meddling here. There's no question there will be. I happen to think it will be, and I hope, and maybe I'm wrong, it will be less than just allowing the Comcasts and the other large corporations to do whatever they want, where they can throttle speeds on anybody they want for whatever reason they want by just claiming, well, this is what makes us the most money. And the answer from the market people of, well, then consumers will just go to their competitors. Bullshit. Consumers won't always go to their competitors, A, because sometimes they have no choice. There is no real competitor, depending on where they live. Or B, if they just don't know, if the average consumer just doesn't know, which will be true for most of them, because Comcast, by the way, owned by NBC Universal, which owns something like a third of all media outlets in the United States, if they don't want you to know, or if it's just over some issue like, I don't know, men's rights that you don't care about, why will you even hear that they shut you down? Or that they didn't give you access to that, or they slowed your access down to that. But the political system is very ugly. There's an old joke, there's two things no human being should have to witness, the making of sausage and the crafting of legislation. I.e., they're just both horrible and disgusting, but to say that the world can't function or will function better if you just say, do as thou wilt is the whole of the law, that doesn't work either for me. I need to shut up because I'm just ranting.
Well, no, Dean, I agree with you in a lot of ways. The problem I see, and somebody, I think it was Nefanor who said it, or it might have been Rachel, is we're going with the lesser of two evils. And I see that we always have to choose between the lesser of two evils. And at some point, we need to start looking at this and saying, why are we choosing the lesser of two evils? Why don't we create something better? Why don't we find the better solution? Not the lesser of two evils, but the better solution.
The reason we're in this situation to begin with is because we don't really have a lot of choice because of what has happened with the cable companies as they are. There's not really an alternative. All of those alternatives get taken down by the ones who now stand up, which is, I think, what was it? It's Comcast and what other cable company is it? I'm trying to remember. Like Time Warner?
Yeah, that's another one of the big ones. Yep.
And basically, they've drawn up lines that, like, okay, beyond this, I'm not going to cross or whatever. It won't cross into your territory. You won't cross into my territory. Blah blah blah. But the general idea is that they've gotten to the point where they do not have to offer you better service. They can charge whatever the fuck they want, give you shitty service, and then you have to take it. You have to take it or get no internet or cable. That's the situation that we've been placed into because they actively take out their competitors.
Yeah, they really do.
And this is what I'm talking about, the lesser of two evils. We always have the lesser of the two evils. We need to open things up more. Honestly, I would say, why isn't the government stepping in and breaking up these two monopolies? Because that's what they really
because it's
are.
in the best interest of specific congressmen that this continues, that this partnership continues.
Hey, I'll sort of break in. I have a text message from Christian Chesson. He says he is in Nephinor's spaceship. Please release him immediately, Neph. No, just kidding. He says he's got most of the work done. He's getting some serious dental work done, and he should be done by Wednesday of next week, i.e. this coming Wednesday. I asked him if he thought he would be back for the next episode, and he says he doesn't see why not. He'd like to. And by the way, he says net neutrality is awesome. What they secretly passed in Congress isn't. Oh, good point there. Good point there.
Now, I would like to make one point. He actually is in my spaceship because what he doesn't realize is the dentist is one of my workers.
Shit. Stop probing his mouth. Good. Oh my god.
Probing his mouth now. That's just oh.
Well, what's worse is that he's probing Christian's mouth after probing Rachel's anus. I hope he cleaned the probe.
You never get ass to mouth. Never.
Well, apparently it means that Rachel needs to clean her ass better.
Oh, sure. Put it on the woman. Put it on the woman. You patriarchal bastard.
It's an asshole. Oh my god.
Okay, two things on that. One, Christian, get better soon. We look forward to seeing you back. We love you, buddy. And number two, I think I'm going to have to bring this topic back for when Christian is around, because I want to hear his thoughts as well.
Yeah, he's got a point there, though, that what they passed is not net neutrality. Because there's even little parts I remember reading where they said something along the lines of that they said it could not discriminate against fair things or could not be unfair. Well, what definition of unfair? Whose definition is it? It's very vague.
Well, unfortunately, you will always see vague wording in current legislation, and it's kind of starting to piss me off.
They leave it vague so that somebody else can interpret it and screw it over.
Well, it creates loopholes that allow people to get through these things and still have exactly what they want without actually breaking the law. It's a form of bending the law to the point where a reasonable person would say, wouldn't that be breaking it?
Yeah.
So Vader.
So what?
Shall we move on to the most contentious topic on the list? Batman versus Vader.
There's nothing contentious about this. It is very clear that Darth Vader would destroy Batman, and anybody who thinks otherwise is just an idiot.
Well, thank you for calling me an idiot, Dean.
No, force choke. That's all he's got to do. Just force choke him to death. What the hell is Batman gonna do?
Have you actually watched the video?
No, and I'm obviously being silly. But actually, I do have to wonder if he could just force choke him. On the other hand, I don't know. I mean, Superman at least has a weakness. He doesn't want to kill anybody. Darth doesn't have that problem. I'm just sitting there going, yeah, force choke. It's over. There.
Well, yeah, and I would almost agree with that, except for the fact that Batman will always outthink his opponents. And in the version where Batman wins, he actually does outthink Vader.
That's how it would have to work. And I must admit, Darth Vader does apparently have some real blind spots. So, what were you going to say, Rachel?
Well, the thing about it is how can you outthink somebody who can sense your presence?
Just because you can sense their presence doesn't mean you can read their minds.
Yeah, but it definitely means they can choke you from where you're at.
And kind of read his mind. It's already been there. Like, he can sense his intentions, which is something that is a heck of a lot better.
On the other hand, I'm seeing the force choke starting and Batman just hitting him in the face with a batarang to distract him and then disappearing to where he can't see him. And I don't know. Maybe I should watch these videos. I probably have more intelligent things to say. Are the videos fun?
They are fun. You have to skip about halfway through for all the fan service of who's going to win, but once you get into the actual fight, it's only about 3 minutes long, And personally, I think it's really well done. Both sides are really well done. Both sides give honest assessment to how it would go down.
I think I saw the one where they had Goku versus Superman, and that was an interest. Is this the same people? Because I'm thinking it is.
I don't know. This is Superpowered Beatdown.
Okay.
This is.
I gotta say, ultimately there is nothing nerdier than this sort of argument, right? There is really nothing nerdier. Who would win, Spider-Man versus Luke Skywalker? Who would win? I was actually witness to some nerds arguing about this more than 10 years ago, because the same actor, what is it, Ian McKellen, plays both Magneto in the X-Men and Gandalf, and the argument began, who would win in a fight, Gandalf or Magneto?
That's a tough one.
Gandalf, because he doesn't use metal.
But all Magneto has to do is like drop a giant fucking metal, iron thing on him, or send swords flying
Depends
at
on
him.
where they are.
But how much
they're in
iron
Middle Earth,
is there?
If they're in Middle Earth, Gandalf wins because there's not enough iron to actually do anything to him.
Unless you're in Mordor, where they've got like this stockpiling of iron and shit like that.
Right.
Your weapons. But I mean, it depends on where you're at. I mean, if you're in like the fucking Shire, Magneto's fucked.
But anybody who's around, I mean, Magneto could just be picking up guys in armor and smashing them into Gandalf. I mean, come on. Magneto could totally kick Gandalf.
Okay, we'll think about
And
this.
then all Gandalf has to do is have the giant eagles pick up Magneto and drop him from a few thousand feet.
This is why.
No, because Magneto can fly.
Like if you drop
Only when he's got metal.
Magneto into like feudal Japan, he's fucked. Like no, I'm not kidding, because it was so fucking iron poor.
That's true.
I mean.
You just can't get nerdier than this argument. You can't. I defy you to get nerdier. Who would win? See, but all Magneto needs is one samurai sword, and then he can like take out a whole army of people. What are you talking about? With that one samurai sword.
Well, you don't necessarily need one. I mean, all you need is like one well-placed archer.
Especially considering they're usually using stone arrowheads.
See, right there. And the thing about it is that even though samurai swords don't actually have as much iron in it as you would think, they actually had to add in other things to try and strengthen the iron, because they didn't have as much, and the quality of it was rather poor.
No, the very best samurai swords were as good as any European sword, but they also were something that, like, only very elite people could afford, because they were so expensive to make in Japan, because it's very iron poor. But they were very good swords.
Oh yeah, they were good swords. It's just that they had to be folded so much because of the quality of the iron was so poor. It's just oof.
Yep. Fold it over and over again 1,000 times until you get it just right. Yep. See, there we go again. God, we're such nerds. We're talking about the making of samurai swords. But still, I'm saying, give Magneto just one samurai sword, and he could just take out so many people in feudal Japan. I'm sorry, he just could. He just has to bring the metal with him, I guess, is the thing.
Yeah.
He can't just find it around him. He has to bring it with him.
Yeah, and he's gonna have that with him. But if he doesn't have
he's got to have his little steel balls.
So, okay, but seriously, back to Batman versus Darth Vader. I want you guys to give me your opinions and tell me why you think that person would actually win. I'll go last.
Okay, who goes first?
You spoke up. Go for it, Dean.
All right. I will actually give a serious answer and say, if it's... I'm laughing, serious answer. Here's how it goes. if it depends on who gets the drop on who. Because if it's like they're in a boxing ring and it's go, then it's Darth Vader all the way, because Darth Vader can just pick him up and hold him in the air and choke him out, and that's it. But Batman would never be stupid enough to put himself in that situation, and Batman's main goal would be to get the drop on Darth Vader. And for even somebody without Force powers, if anybody could get the drop on a Jedi Knight, it would be Batman. So it's all a matter of who gets the drop on who first, because if Darth sees him clearly and he's got a clear line of vision, Batman is fucked.
The thing about it is that, how does Batman end up in the situation where he's near Darth Vader? Because the thing about it is if he is on a ship with Darth Vader, he's in unfamiliar surroundings and also probably disorientated from however it is that he got there. So I'm thinking Darth Vader.
Unless, of course, he's a typical Batman, which means he doesn't go into a situation without having analyzed the shit out of it in the first place.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not thinking that he went there by force. I'm thinking he went there by force, not by his own doing.
Let me give you guys a little background according to the videos. Apparently, Vader captures Superman in a bid to trade Superman with Darkseid for some form of alliance. Batman has found out about this. The rest of the Justice League is unavailable, and he interrogates people all the way through Mos Eisley to find Superman on the Death Star.
Wow, that's...
See, now Batman has all kinds of time to plan. And he excels at planning and setting people up. So that looks like a much more...
I'm going to argue still that it's not going to be Batman for one reason. In order for him to defeat Vader, he has to know the weaknesses of Jedi. Considering the time frame, there are no Jedi for him to interrogate. He can't figure out the weaknesses, so he's going to be going into that fight partially blind. He may know of the powers, but he won't know how to defend against them.
Exactly, because of the people who actually have Jedi powers, like all of them have basically been wiped out at this point. The only remaining people who have these abilities are like Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, and you've also got like Luke Skywalker. But he hasn't met any of these people.
And Yoda, and there's going to be nobody who was going to want to give that information up.
And the thing about it is there's going to be nobody he can then encounter who has those abilities. He doesn't fucking know. They've got like fucking force abilities and shit. I mean, that's an important thing to know for him to plan. Like, am I going to get thrown up against a wall or something? Just like, does this person have like a fucking big, thing that, a big weapon that can cut through anything? That's going to be important knowledge.
Also, there's another thing to think about. Batman's not where he has his resources.
This is true. He's going to have few resources. I mean, yeah. But yeah, Jim, you want to come in here with that?
Well, let's hear James's idea if he wants to.
No, keep going, guys.
Okay.
I'm just saying if he's going in there mostly blind to the abilities of his opponent, that's gonna fuck him over pretty bad.
Well, I'm gonna go with Batman specifically because he will outthink Vader on one thing and one thing alone. Who is he going to rescue?
Superman.
Do you not think he's going to take into account Superman as a possible way of...
Well, yeah, he's got to get to him first. Well, that's the thing. He's got to get to him first. And if Vader is the one in front of him... Yeah.
There are many ways to get through defenses. And remember...
The thing is, we're hinging this on the fact that he can do that. If we take into account that Superman is not a factor in the fight, for whatever reason... then how would you rate it?
If Superman's not a factor in the fight, I think Batman would be screwed, and Vader's got him. I hate to say it. There is no even Batman would have trouble with Vader without help. But if he can get Superman involved in the fight in any way, he's got Vader down.
It depends.
All right, but an even more important question is, in a fight, Darth Vader versus the Doctor, who wins?
The Doctor.
Depends on which Doctor.
Or Batman versus the Doctor. Ooh, now we really got a problem.
No, the reason why we're going to see the Doctor defeating Darth Vader is because he's got the Deus Ex Machina, the sonic screwdriver, and all he has to do is fuck with his mechanical person, and then he can't move.
That's true. There's a lot of mechanical parts on the Vader, which means, oh, well, fucked.
Yeah, see, there we go. Oh, shit.
And since we talked about the Doctor, let's move on to our article on the Doctor and the upcoming season.
Oh, gosh. Is Clara still going to be fucking here?
What's going to be what?
Are we still going to have Clara?
Yes.
Oh, god damn it. I'm not watching the series until she's gone. It's just really... It's...
Get a lot of Clara hate out there, at least between me and Rachel basically can't stand her. I don't remember where the rest of you guys are on
so
it.
fucking boring.
I've gotten sick of her real quick after they switched to Capaldi.
Yeah. Once it switched to Capaldi, she became extra baggage that didn't need to be there.
And that's...
I didn't like her before. I like her even less now. So, Rachel.
Yeah. It's not like you had like the Rose situation where you started out with Christopher Eccleston, and then you moved to David Tennant, and then it actually got better. This is the exact opposite of that situation where you saw that there was a chemistry going on there between Clara and the Doctor before, and then you switched over to Capaldi, and all of that was gone. There was no chemistry there to work with. Nothing. It was just, oh god, it's so fucking boring. So fucking boring.
There's a show I'm going to give a strong recommendation for. I guess it doesn't count as a nerd show. It's called The Thick of It, which is hard to find, but it's out there.
No, I've seen it.
Well, yeah, there was a movie by the same people using mostly the same characters called In the Loop, which is also very good. But the show itself, The Thick of It, is fantastic and shows just what a fantastic actor Peter Capaldi can be, because he's just awesome. He's dynamite, and yet I think we all agree this the last season of Doctor Who was boring. And now the only thing that's giving me hope at the moment, we know that the new season, when it comes out, I'm still predicting September, by the way, but everybody's just guessing because creators won't say. The thing that gives me hope, we already had it announced that Clara's coming back for at least part of that season, which I'm not happy about because I just can't stand her. But Missy is going to be there right from the beginning, and Missy is awesome because unlike giving Thor a sex change, which is totally transparently stupid for about 5,000 reasons at once, and very ham-handed. This whole making Thor a woman is just ham-handed from start to finish. Doing a little gender bending with the Master is perfectly okay with me because it's plausible and Missy is interesting. Do I get an amen on that?
I would agree.
Well,
Missy's actually interesting.
I won't give you an
I
amen,
like Missy.
but I will say, besides the fact that you fucking called it, Dean, fuck you.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Thank you.
Just say it. Just say it.
Fuck you, nerds.
No, that's not what I
got it
meant.
right. Missy is the Master. Missy is
Thank
the
you very
Master.
much.
Thank you.
But I honestly think Missy is a far more interesting character than Clara is.
Yes. Oh
But at
my
the same
god,
time,
yes.
I have seen something saying the Doctor will lighten up in the next season, which really annoys me because I like Capaldi as he is. This is one of the most interesting Doctors I've seen since Tennant.
Yeah, this
And
is true.
I will be honest with you. I mean, I would rate Tennant as one of the most interesting Doctors I've seen. Um, and I'm talking about all the Doctors together. Capaldi is actually very close to that level of interesting, in my opinion.
But the
Yeah,
scripts he's been handed to work with are terrible.
That's
exactly.
my biggest problem with it. Not to mention Clara, it just there is no meshing between the two, which I hate to say it. I think that kind of happens when they change doctors.
Well, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't when they do, you know. But you're right. This new companion does not. This new Doctor does not. Capaldi doesn't match very well with what's her name who plays
Clara.
Clara. She just doesn't. He just doesn't. They don't mesh. I've seen people say they have chemistry. I'm like,
No.
where? Where even when they're
Where?
supposedly having a battle of wits, it's like, no, this is just stupid.
No.
Um, Now, a hot rumor, and it is purely rumor and purely speculative, is that the next companion is actually going to be Missy.
That's not gonna
And
work.
why wouldn't it work? I think that sounds very intriguing because there is somebody who really truly is a match for the Doctor. Presumably, that free-wise, they have to be thrust together for some reason, right? Like
Well, yeah.
something happens that they're stuck with each other for a while. But that could lead to all kinds of fun and interesting, and because the Master is quite brilliant and quite insane, as is Missy. I think it could work really well. Why don't you think it would work?
Well, the reason I don't think it could work long term, I think it could probably work for a specific story arc, like maybe one or two episodes where they're thrust together. But ultimately, the Doctor, despite like even the fact that this particular Doctor is dark, uh, he can never go along with the sadistic nature of the Master. It's always that thing.
Well, that's right. There probably have to be some sort of thing. You know, the Doctor would be right off the bat. Is like, if we're doing anything together, you kill somebody, we're done. No, did you hear me? I mean it. You kill somebody, we're done.
Yeah,
It would have to.
You'd have
You
to
know,
have the Master on a very tight leash. And that would probably only last, like I said, for a very small number of episodes before the Master figured out how to remove that leash.
Well, I mean, going back to some of the past episodes, the Master and the Doctor have worked together.
they have in a very not trusting way, but yes, they have. I
And
remember one really old one back in the John Pertwee days, where like it was very frustrating because the Master was genuinely trying to help the Doctor, and the Doctor was like totally dissing him and casting him over the curb and just ignoring everything he said and everything. And the Master's like, I'm really trying to help you. Will you just listen? So they have had a weird relationship like that before, where you can't decide if they're friends or enemies, where they can't decide if they're friends or enemies.
and I think that makes for a really interesting story arc. But like Rachel said, it's not going to last much more than a couple of episodes, 3 at the most. And I don't see this as being anything more than a couple of episodes, maybe a nice little 2-hour long movie type, but at some point, yeah, you know that the one of them is going to fuck over the other because of the long history.
Mm.
Probably.
Yeah.
If you remember the episode, was it under Tennant? Yeah, it was under Tennant. The one with the drums, and the guy who played the Master was what was that actor's name? I'm a big fan of his too. You know, the kind of small, kind of pencil neck, but
Yeah, I know who you're
I know.
talking
Yeah, I
about.
know you're talking about it as well, and he did a really good job, I
He, by the way, was the star of a fantastic show that's really worth looking for called Life on Mars.
Excellent show.
Phenomenal show. Phenomenal show. But in any case, I mean, you see even clearly there in that story arc, they almost think of each other like brothers. You know, and you got the whole thing where the doctor's like, we're the last of our kind. We have to be together, but we can't. But we, you know, that tortured, conflicted relationship. I don't know where I was going with that, but I can actually see a whole season of this. I can easily see a whole season with those two working together and constantly in tension with each other at the same time. And the best story arc would be, we got to go find Gallifrey, because we both agree on that. We got to go find Gallifrey.
The thing about it is that the moment that they found Gallifrey, that alliance would be dead, I think. The moment that they found it, it would be like the gloves are off, because the Master probably has his own ideas in mind of what he wants to do now that he's back in Gallifrey.
Exactly.
Or she, sorry.
So you know there will be an inevitable sudden betrayal.
Exactly, and that's the whole.
Curse your inevitable sudden unexpected
it's
betrayal.
Tumultuous relationship between the two of them. That it's very complicated, but it can never last. It's kind of like when you see two people together and you know it's not gonna last. Like, but you see that they're getting married, and you're like, holy shit! Oh god, this is gonna last like 3 months.
Nice Firefly reference there, by the way, Nephinar. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
I had to throw in a little wash.
I still miss Firefly.
Well,
but anyway.
I will say that yes, I really don't see it going for very long. While it would be very interesting, there is a point where you will get bored with it.
Oh, of course.
There's only so far they can take it, and that's why I say, 2, maybe 3 episodes.
Man, I'm saying 8. I'm saying a whole season, in fact. You could make it happen. I'm totally seeing it as a writer. Let me write it. Stephen Moffat, I know you listen to every episode. Let me just write it. Put me in charge. No, just kidding. But I totally think they could make it work for a whole season. It could even be like, there's a classic movie. There's a science fiction movie that was based on it too, called Enemy Mine. But like, there's this classic movie where two people who hate each other are chained to each other, and they're chained together.
That
and
was a good movie.
That was an excellent movie. I still remember that, and I gotta get a copy of that for my collection.
Yeah. They're chained together. They hate each other, and they cannot get away from each other. It is literally impossible. Even if one were to kill the other, they'd be dragging the dead body with them wherever they went. So they literally cannot escape each other, even though they hate each other. And you could come up with something in Doctor Who land that made that go a whole fucking season. We are stuck. There's no getting around it. We are just stuck. Now what? I don't know. Hearing that they're lightening up Capaldi, I don't know. But
in Enemy Mine, you got to remember they did eventually form some form of
friendship,
grudging respect at the very least.
Yes.
And they've done that in a couple other things, including Farscape, where at the end you see a grudging respect between two enemies.
Right. I was actually thinking more of Enemy Mine was actually sort of based on a previous film where two guys were literally chained together because they were both escaped prisoners, but whatever. Yeah, Enemy Mine, that's a good film. It was a good short story, too. It was originally a short story.
There was also a later movie, science fiction, called Deadlocked. It's Dolph Lundgren and Mimi Rogers. That was actually really well done. Basically, if they got more than 100 yards apart from each other, the colors around their necks would blow up.
Yeah. See, you to do something like this in Doctor Who land, if they do it, and I hope they do. I'm rooting for it. You have to set up something like that. Like, seriously, I don't know, Gallifrey is destroyed if we don't stay together, or we're both destroyed if we don't stay together, or whatever. You could find something. So that they're forced. They have no choice.
The TARDIS is destroyed.
Yeah, you literally have no choice. You're together, and you could sit there and you could spend all your time trying to kill each other, but if either one of you dies, also the bad thing happens. So you have to keep each other alive.
Actually,
Okay,
the TARDIS itself could force that.
sure. So they're forced in a situation where they have to cooperate, and they have to keep each other alive. They have no choice. So I can totally see it working. I can. Well, it's just me. I'm certainly looking forward to it coming back because I think they could not possibly do a worse season than the one they just did. I really just said that, didn't I? Well, I'm sorry, but it was a terrible season, wasn't it?
Well, yes, it was. But we've got two more things we should get through. So which is it? Blizzard and the new Overwatch character, or the I can't even speak this one. Netflixization of video games.
Yeah, I almost cursed you for writing that into those show notes that I had to read. Netflixization. Okay, I don't know any. Okay, the Netflixization of gaming. Isn't it inevitable? I mean, seriously, isn't it inevitable? I mean, it's like, isn't that really what Steam and Xbox Live already kind of are?
No. This is the game is being streamed to your console. This is not, it's stored on your console and you can play it. It's being broadcast to the console.
In many ways, that's what Sony now is.
So the thing I see there is, I don't know. I guess I'm looking at this going, what's the big deal? So tell me what the big deal is. Okay, you're streaming, all right, and so you will occasionally have some lag issues.
I think the problem is that you no longer own the game. You just rent the ability to play it.
Yeah, and I see so many issues that could come up with that, because yes, NVIDIA is going to charge a subscription fee, monthly subscription fee, probably close to $60 everybody else is doing, but at the same time, well, actually I think it's 15. Anyway, we'll worry about that when it comes closer. But I think the problem is also the ability to stream the game versus having it on a console. The lag differential will kind of be self-evident, even with the power of Amazon. And they're saying, they'll be able to upgrade the hardware for the games on the spot. So instead of having to upgrade like your PC to get better graphics, they'll be able to do that for you, which I see as a plus. But my biggest issue, and any gamer will tell you, the biggest issue for any type of game like this will be lag.
So wait a minute. They're actually going to upgrade your console for you if you're a subscriber?
No. The console does not get upgraded. The hardware on the streaming side.
Oh, I get it. Right. Oh, we need more power for this. We upgrade the servers. No problem.
Right.
And all they have to be streaming is the video. They put all the processing power on their big servers. Yeah, lag will be an issue, but it depends on how the games are designed, right? For some games, the lag won't be any worse than disk drive lag, just for example. It depends on the game. I mean, really fast shooters, I guess, it's probably going to be an issue, but for other games, I don't see it making a damn bit of difference. So I guess it depends on the game, right?
I'd have to agree with that. I mean,
any game where latency becomes an issue is going to be an issue. Like, as you said, first-person shooters, that's going to be one. Real-time strategy, that's going to be one. Because all you need is, in some of those games, 2 seconds of lag is enough to put you out of commission.
Not even 2 seconds.
Not that much. Not even that for a first-person shooter. A quarter of a second is enough to knock you out of the game.
No, you're absolutely right, but that just means that would be a market segment they wouldn't be going after, I would presume.
Let's hope so.
I otherwise have a hard time seeing. So they're doing this they're doing this in conjunction with Amazon, are they? Is
Yes.
that what I heard? I got to tell you, Amazon's been pretty smart. I resisted getting on Amazon Prime for the longest because I just didn't see the point. But we recently got Amazon Prime, which is one of the reasons why I finally saw the last Hobbit movie. And Amazon Prime is pretty cool. And one of the things they're very much going for is digital delivery. Digital delivery of movies, digital delivery. They started with digital delivery of books. They're going hard after digital delivery of movies. Why not digital delivery of video games? Why the hell not? I mean, the only difference I'm seeing here is, all right, they have their own console. Well, Amazon kind of knows how to do that because the Kindle is very popular.
Yeah, but the digital delivery of Kindle, the digital delivery of movies, there's a difference between those because Kindle, it's stored on the device. The movies, it's streamed, yes, but you don't really interact, and you do notice if you fast forward or rewind, you do notice a drop in quality for a short period of time.
Yeah,
This is something totally different. This is an interaction between the two that's going to be streamed back and forth. I don't see how they'll be able to compete with keeping it with digital delivery and putting it on a hard drive on the user end.
Yeah, presumably they're storing some on the user end, but most of the game not. See, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking games like Fallout 3 would work just fine. And games like Call of Duty just probably wouldn't work. That's what I'm guessing right now. I guess what I'm thinking is, why am I upset about it? Why is anybody upset about this idea? It seems like it's an idea that either works or doesn't work, and who cares?
Well,
what
personally,
bad is going to come of it?
Well, personally, I like the idea, but not the extent they're taking it. I think, put it on the user end to hold the game at the very least. But this is going beyond that. This is like the next step or two steps beyond it, to where the whole game is just streamed. And I don't see anything with multiplayer being able to do that.
Well, and I am going to be curious: are you going to be able to buy the game and just have it and have it be yours? Or are you going to constantly have to rent everything? Like I know within the Amazon Prime Video universe, you have an option to rent and you have an option to buy. And once you've bought it, it's yours forever. You can stream it anytime you want, right? 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you bought it. So unless Amazon decides to screw you somehow and deny you ever bought it, that's yours forever. We bought the Hobbit movie. It's ours. We could have also rented it for like a third of the price, but we said, no, we're nerds, so we'll buy it. And I would assume they're going to follow a similar model with their games. You should be able to just outright buy it, or maybe you'll rent it to try it. I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to see it play out in action. I do know I'm very reluctant to get another console. I have gone from being pro-console to anti-console. In fact, over the last 20 years, I've gone back and forth. Am I pro-console or anti-console? And I think I'm anti-console these days. Yet I'm finding myself seriously thinking I need to get an Xbox One because Halo 5 is coming, and I wouldn't want to miss out on that. So,
yeah, I still need to play Halo 4.
Yeah, I do too. And I didn't care when Halo 4 came out. I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm Haloed out. And then I started seeing stuff from Halo 5, and it's like, oh, it's been a few years. I'm starting to really miss Halo. Halo was like all I played for about a year at one point in my life. Now I'm starting to miss Halo again. So, but it's like, it seems very ballsy to come up with a new console.
Yeah, it's not like there aren't enough of them out there already.
Well, right. This is a new console, and that's kind of a big deal, right? You're going head to head with Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo. You're trying to bring in a fourth, and yet there's so many Amazon customers, they may be able to make this work.
Yeah,
It'll-
but a lot of console customers, maybe Amazon customers at the same time, doesn't mean they're going to automatically switch to an Amazon console.
No, it really doesn't. You know what they're going to need? They say that they're going to go on sale in May. Oh, but they also say the service is already available for PC users. Maybe I should investigate this and get back to you guys in 2 weeks. They say it's already available for PC, and I am an Amazon Prime customer now. Maybe I should look at what they got in there, huh?
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions that we need to answer, and I honestly think looking into it over the next couple of months, it'll be very interesting. But at the same time, I also look at it from this standpoint. It will bring more competition to the market. It'll force Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft to up their game even more, because look at the starting price of the console. It's $300 less than any of the others.
It's $199,
Yeah.
so that's pretty close.
Yeah, it's so much cheaper. And while yes, the lag will be an issue, a lot of gamers will sit there and say, well, I'll put up with a little bit more lag for saving myself $300.
Yeah, but you're forgetting something. The reason you're saving all that money is because the actual hardware isn't there. It's literally just a streaming box. And to be honest, in that respect, it's kind of overpriced.
That's true. So it's just one of those. I think we'll wait and see what happens. But it is definitely interesting and it is worth looking at.
They claim, NVIDIA's claiming they have solved the latency issue.
Right.
That's a very broad, that's a very tough, that's a big
That's a very bold claim, especially in the light of net neutrality.
Well, yes. I mean, well, yeah. If it's noticeable, it's not acceptable. Basically, is the bottom line. So, I guess we'll wait and see. I will. It says the service is available for PC, but I'm just looking on Amazon right now, and I'm not sure where I find it. But I'll try and look into it and get back to you guys in 2 weeks. If I don't get too busy, I'll try, because I've become an Amazon Prime believer. It's a pretty good service, actually. At first I thought it was, what, you get $99 a year for free shipping from Amazon? Who cares? But no, they give you a lot of stuff, including a lot of free stuff, and an easy way to download or an easy way to buy movies as well. So
all right, that's it. You're our investigative reporter.
I guess I'm our investigative reporter. I will look into this.
All right. We've only got a few minutes left. We've got one topic. We're not going to have a whole lot of time for this, but thoughts on the female body complaints, Blizzard having a new character coming out?
I'm wondering, first off, who had body complaints? And second off, who cares about this new character? It's a character. It really doesn't matter, and it's not the first time we've seen a big female character like this.
Yeah, I really
what was it? Borderlands, where there was.
There's been plenty. There's been plenty.
Yeah, it's like, come on, people. Nobody's going to be angry about this. Gamergate and anti-social justice warriors are not angry about this. It's like, whatever. It's just another character, as long as it's well designed.
I don't really care. I mean, it seems like it's a little bit forced, though. But other than that, I mean, I don't really give a fuck. I mean,
I got to tell you honestly, here's my reaction to it, because I've watched it and I've seen it, and I'm like, who cared? When I look at our current society, which I believe to be a very gynocentric society, and being a woman has all sorts of advantages that people just don't see or don't seem to be aware of. But when I see stuff like this, it's like, man, I'm glad I'm not a chick, just because having my gender politicized like this so constantly would get to be a fucking drag. Like, really, this is news. This is news. Okay, it's female, and this character is female, and it's a news. So it's very important for everybody that we acknowledge the femaleness of this character. It would
What's
just
really
be-
funny, though, is a lot of them are ones who were complaining about the game itself, were complaining that many of the characters in there, the female characters, were sexualized. Like, so what? You make one of them not sexualized and suddenly we're going to care?
I
It's so fucking frustrating. It really is frustrating, because it's as if they're saying that people who are attractive, people who are like maybe like naturally skinny, and that those people, those aren't real women. They're not real women, of course. Oh, you know what? That's so fucking stupid. It's so wrong to basically say that oh, they're sexual. No, it seems to me that these women have issues with attractive women, with women appearing to be attractive, and that really this is people just feeling self-conscious about what they look like. And they're like, maybe if we just make like an ultra muscly or unattractive woman, or a woman who's a little more on the chunky side, even though it's completely unrealistic to maybe some of the combat that they're engaging in, maybe that'll make these women feel less self-conscious. No! That's not actually how it works. I mean, that's really not how self-image works. If these women really feel bad about themselves, no amount of pandering is going to make them feel better.
No, and no amount of pandering to will make them feel better either. In fact, pandering to them will tend to annoy them. Once they, yeah. Well, since we are low on time, let me just ask, having watched that video and seen that female character, is anybody here filled with rage and anger at her appearance?
No.
I'm filled with rage and anger that it's Blizzard.
Fuck Blizzard, man.
I'll be honest. My personal thought on it is, okay, it looks like an interesting character. Cool. It's
And
not
the game
something you
looks
couldn't have done in a
potentially
different
fun.
way. Yeah, it's not something
It
you
looks
could
like a cross between a MOBA and Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, I mean, it looks potentially fun, and I really don't care. So, otherwise, and I'll
Yeah,
wait
pretty
for the
much.
reviews. And of course, being a Gamergate supporter, I will look forward to the reviews saying, "Don't buy this game because girl," because that's how
What I
all
find
Gamergates
hilarious,
will
though, is
react, right?
that considering the fact that the game hasn't even come out yet, there's already porn for some of the characters.
Of course there is.
Of course.
As
there
we
is.
all know, ultimately the internet is for porn. That's really for porn. Internet is for porn. Of course there is. In fact, I don't remember who made this first observation or what. Maybe it was Allison or maybe it was someone before that. If you can imagine something as porn, someone on the internet has already done it.
Rule 34 of the internet. If it exists, there is porn of it.
I'm telling you. Oh, goodness gracious. Yes, absolutely nobody cares, and nobody is pledging not to play this game because it has a non-sexualized female. Although I notice she has a very feminine voice, so I'm sure somebody somewhere will be angry about that. She has kind of a girly
Yes,
voice.
because somebody can jerk off to the voice.
That's right. Somebody might jerk off to the voice because it's girly sounding.
You know, I'm totally jerking off to her voice later.
Please take photos and send them. No, please don't.
Is there a way to objectify someone by their voice? Just I wonder.
Well,
I wonder.
considering that you
Yes, there
objectify
is,
me
Rachel.
by my
I believe you were participating in it a long time ago.
Oh, I am.
All right. Well,
What are you wearing?
I'll tell you later. All right. So, I think that about wraps everything up. We're going to go into final thoughts. Final thoughts. We'll start with Nephenor.
The final thought of the day is legs. Spread the word.
Oh my
Makes
god.
probing easier. Makes probing easier.
Oh god.
All right, Dean, you got final thoughts for us?
Yes, as a white male, I wish to see all people of color and all women banned from all my video games immediately. That is my true agenda. I finally confess it. Also, they should all be beaten. There. That's my confession of my true agenda. So, There you go.
Paging David
And
Futrell.
for those who didn't get
Paging
it, that
David
was
Futrell.
sarcasm.
It was not sarcasm. I want to destroy all women and minorities.
Paging David Futrell. Paging David Futrell. All right, Rachel, what do you got for us on your final
Oh
thoughts?
gosh, non-sexualized female character, no fucks given. There we go. Not a single fuck was given that day.
Pretty much. Hey, James.
Look at all the fucks falling from the sky. I don't give.
James, you got anything for us?
I guess that's a no. James,
Apparently.
I guess it's time to call an end to the show.
All right. Well, my final thoughts are this is going to be interesting. The next couple of weeks, net neutrality, definitely going to be something worth looking into. And, ladies and gentlemen, take the red pill.